Don't panic before the JLPT. Here is a 1-hour N2 grammar summary. Let's go.
I love Yuka Sensei's videos. Wish they had N1 level. Wait, they have N1, 2, and 3 on the Nihongo no Mori app? And at nihongonomori.com? For just 1,480 yen a month, I can see all of them?
電話お願いします。
I'm not here.
いやいや、対応お願いします。
No, I don't know how to answer the phone, I just can't. There's videos for that too? There's even Kansai Ben. What have I been doing with my life?
それより電話。
Study now. Talk later.
So first up, we have mono. This is when we're talking about general knowledge and common sense. 例えば、母は子供を心配するものだ。It is natural for parents to worry about their children. And so here, this monoda is it is natural. Next up, mono number 2. This means should. So this talks about things that you should or should not do. Here we have, 電車の中では食べ物を食べないものだ。We should not eat food on the train. Monoda. Should. Now, mono-san. So this is how we express strong emotions about how we feel about things. So, for example, we have, 友達と久しぶりに会うのは楽しいものだ. It's fun to see friends for the first time in a while. Next, we have というものだ. This is how you express your views, beliefs, impressions, and feelings. For example, we have 成功はすぐには訪れないというものだ. So this is success doesn't come easily, right? So this is how we feel about success. Next, we have というものではない. So this is the opposite of というものだ. So it's something is not necessarily or not always true. 時計は高ければいいというものではない. So a watch doesn't necessarily have to be expensive, right? Next, we have ものがある. So this is to feel like. So this is when you're talking about something and you're like, oh, this event or this thing feels like this to me. It has this sense to it. So here we have 娘の結婚式は込み上げてくるものがある. So my daughter's wedding ceremony feels very emotional, right? It has an emotional component for me. So next up we have ものの. So this means even though or despite. So whatever you say before, it's like, even though I did this thing or this thing is true, I feel the opposite way or I will do something different. So here we have ご飯を作ったものの食べる気分ではない. Even though I cooked, I don't feel like eating. So next up is ものなら. So this is if that were true. So if the previous statement were true, I would do such and such. Here we have 勉強せずに合格できるものなら今頃寝ているよ. If I could pass without studying, I'd be sleeping right now. Next up is ものか. So this is when you express strong denial. It's saying like, you know, who would do that? Like, is that such a thing that you would do? So here we have 野菜なんて食べてやるものか. I would never eat a vegetable. So next we have ものと思われる. So this is something is believed to be or expected to be. It describes your anticipation of what is a fact or what you think might be true. So here we have 虎が噛んだものと思われる跡を発見した. I discovered what is believed to be bite marks from a tiger. Next up we have ことに. So this is how we give an adverb description of how we feel about the next thing we're about to say. So for example, fortunately or luckily, funnily, here we have 幸運なことに命に別状はなかった. Fortunately, there was no life-threatening injury. Next, we have ことにする. So this is pretend to be something. So even though something isn't true, you pretend that it is to get some sort of result. So here we have 彼氏はいないことにして合コンに参加する. I'll pretend I don't have a boyfriend to attend the group date. Next is ことか. So this is how you express strong emotion. It's like, oh, I'm so, and then whatever the emotion is. So here we have 君からもらった手紙はどんなに嬉しかったことか. I can't tell you how happy I was to receive your letter. Next is ことから. It's very similar to just から on its own, where it expresses a reason or cause for something. So here we have ハローキティは人気であることから世界中で見ることができる. Because Hello Kitty is popular, she can be seen around the world. Next is のことだから. So this is how we describe a certain person based on their personality or the way they usually behave. So here we have 優しい先生のことだから宿題をしなくても怒られないだろう. Since the teacher is kind, they probably won't get angry if we don't do our homework. Next, we have ことなく. So this is doing something without doing something else. So the thing that comes before is the thing that you don't do, and the thing after is what you do do. So we have JLPT の試験に合格するために休むことなく勉強する. I study without resting to pass the JLPT. Next, we have ないことには. So this is without doing something, I can't or I won't something else. So we have here, 食べてみないことには美味しいかわからない. So unless I try it, I won't know if it's delicious. Next, we have ないことはない. This is basically a double negative. You're saying, it's not not. So in this case, we have, it's not that I can't. So here we have, 納豆は食べれないことはないが苦手である. It's not that I can't eat natto. I just don't like it. Next, we have ことはが. So this is, sure, this thing happened, but I feel some kind of way about it. So here we have プレゼントをもらったことはもらったがあんまり嬉しくなかった. Sure, I got a present, but I wasn't very happy about it. Next, we have ことになる. So this is something will be. It's like a statement of fact. It's basically like, this will happen. Just the reality. So here we have, 私はあと1ヶ月で20歳なので、お酒を飲めるということになる. So, I will turn 20 in just 1 month, which means I will be allowed to drink alcohol. Next, we have our first form of kagiri. So this is as far as, and it's an expression of range, essentially. So as far as I've seen, or as far as my knowledge, here we have, 私が見た限りでは、彼はいつも同じ服装です. As far as I've seen, he always wears the same outfit. Next, we have another form of kagiri. So this is as long as a certain circumstance persists, something will be a certain way. So here we have, 彼女と付き合っている限り、クラブには行けない. As long as I'm in a relationship with her, I can't go to clubs. Next, we have に限り. So this is only to a limited number of people, for example. So, 先着10名様に限り、この石鹸を無料で差し上げます. We are giving away this soap for free to only the first 10 people. Next, we have に限る. So this is something is best. It's like, in a certain circumstance, I think this thing is the best. It's like giving, your preference almost, giving what you think is like the best recommended thing. So here we have, 気分が落ち込んだ時には、美味しいものを食べるに限る. When I'm feeling down, the best thing is to eat something delicious. Next, we have に限らず. So this is not only this thing, but also these other things. In this case, we're talking about different people from different countries. So here we have, 日本語の森は日本人に限らず、韓国人やミャンマー人も働いている. Not only Japanese people, but also people from Korea and Myanmar work at 日本語の森. Next, we have に限って. So this is today of all days or now of all times. It basically explains when there's like a super important event, something that's very like, oh, it's only today or it's only now. This is a very important thing that's happening. And then something bad happens and you're trying to express frustration that it's like, why of all times did it have to be now? So here we have, サッカーの試合の日に限って雨が降る. Of course it rains on the one day we have a soccer game. Next we have に限ってない. So this is when you want to say that a specific person would never do a certain thing. So here we have 私の息子に限って盗みを働くはずがない. So my son would not commit theft. You know, it's sort of like my son, of all people, would never commit a theft. Next we have とは限らない. So this means I can't say for sure. It's not certain. It's not limited to that certainly being the case. So 明日が晴れだとは限らない. I can't say for sure that it will be sunny tomorrow. Next we have だけあって. So this is as one would expect. So the part of the sentence that comes before だけあって is the reason why somebody should expect something, and then what comes after is what exactly it is they're expecting. So first we have 彼女は歌を習っているだけあってとても歌がうまい. She takes singing lessons, so of course she's very good at singing. Next we have だけに. So this is so of course, or so naturally. It describes a natural consequence of something that you would expect to happen. So here we have お腹が空いていただけにご飯がいつもより美味しかった. I was hungry, so naturally the food tasted better than usual. Next we have からには, which is now that, or since it's. So basically, because this circumstance is happening, I think this, or I feel this, right? So here we have 大阪に来たからにはたこ焼きは絶対に食べたい. Now that I'm in Osaka, I definitely want to try takoyaki. Next we have というだけで, which is just because it's something doesn't mean it's something else, right? So here we have 安いというだけで商品を買うと後悔しやすい. If you buy a product just because it's cheap, you're likely to regret it. Next we have にもかかわらず. So this is, despite the obstacles, somebody achieved a good result, right? So somebody had to face something difficult or had a difficult set of circumstances against them, but despite that, they came out on top. So here we have 彼は外国で育ったのにもかかわらず日本語をうまく使いこなす. Although he was raised abroad, he is able to use Japanese fluently. So this, being raised abroad, is seen as the obstacle to speaking fluently, but despite that, he's able to do it anyway. So next we have にしては. So this is how we express surprise when something is different from what we might expect. So for example, here we have この料理はこの値段にしては美味しかった. This dish was delicious for the price. So the unexpected thing is that it's delicious despite being cheap, right? So the price is low, so we would expect it to be not as delicious. But in fact, the price was low and it was delicious, which is why we're surprised. So next up we have 割に. So this indicates that something is different from what was expected, sort of in the reverse of what we saw previously with にしては. So here we have この料理は値段の割に美味しくなかった. So this dish wasn't that delicious for the price. So here what's being implied is that the food was expensive, but the dish was not delicious. So even though we spent a lot of money and expected something delicious, what we got was not as good. Womp womp. So you can see how, where before with にしてはwe had a positive surprise, here we're getting a negative surprise. Next we have と言っても. This is when you want to express that something you said isn't entirely true. So it's almost like you could say this, but the truth is something else. So our example is 名古屋に行ったことがあると言っても新幹線で撮っただけだ. So you could say that I've been to Nagoya, but I've only passed through on the Shinkansen. Here we have こそが. So this is where we highlight a contrast between two things that we say. So just to look at the example, it might be easier to understand. 私は経験こそないが、やる気は誰よりもある. So I don't have experience, but I have more enthusiasm than anyone. So here we're saying, well, what I lack in this, right, I make up for in this, which is why we're highlighting a contrast. Next, we have kara to itte, which is just because something is true, it doesn't mean something else is also true, right? So it's like just because this is right, it doesn't mean this is also right. Yes, no. So, お金を人よりも持っているからといって偉いわけではない。So, just because you have more money than others doesn't mean you are superior. Next, we have かというと. This is something you use when you want to explain something in more detail, right? So, imagine you're asked by somebody, oh, is the reason you like that idol because, you think he's handsome? And you want to say, no, it's not exactly that. It's something else. So here we have, 彼の顔が好きかというと、そうではない。So it's not exactly that I like his face, and then you would sort of explain further why it is you like him. Next, we have 一方. So this is when you want to describe, on the one hand, this noun is one way, and on the other hand, a different noun is another way, right? So it's like these people are doing one thing, while these people are doing a different thing. So here we have, 高校卒業後、進学する人がいる一方、就職する人もいる。After graduating from high school, some people go on to further education, while others start working. Next, we have kuseni. Now, kuseni basically is a way of criticizing people. And the way that it works is that here, before kuseni comes, a fact about a certain person, or basically the point about a person that you're criticizing. So you're being like, despite being a liar, despite being a little kid, despite being smelly, or whatever you put in here, something does something else. Like somebody criticizes me, or somebody, cuts in line, or something that makes you mad. So here we have, 彼は年下のくせに私をバカにした話し方をしてくる. Even though he's younger than me, he talks to me in a disrespectful way. Next we have 来ない. So this is how you deny the possibility of something. So you say, this thing could never happen. Here we have 周りには合格できこないと思われていた私がN2に合格した. Everyone around me thought I could never pass the N2, but I did. Next, we have ていては. This is how you express a negative consequence or result of doing something. So here we have 人の悪口ばっかり言っていては嫌われてしまいますよ. If you keep talking behind people's backs, you'll end up being disliked. Next, we have ようでは, which is warning about a situation or criticizing behavior. It's basically saying, if you do this thing, a bad outcome will happen. So we have たくさん食べるのに運動しないようでは太ってしまいますよ. If you eat a lot and don't exercise, you'll gain weight. Next up, we have そうもない. This is, there's a low probability of being able to do something. It's like, it doesn't seem like I'll be able to something. So here we have 今までの仕事が多くて夜は眠れそうもない. I have so much work to do by today that I probably won't be able to sleep tonight. Next, we have 挙句. So this is ended up. And it sort of expresses, after, a negative thing happened, or after I tried so hard to do something, things got even worse, basically. So here we have 今日は仕事に遅刻した挙句会社をクビになった. Today, I was late for work and ended up getting fired. So we have the one negative thing happens, and then it gets even worse. Next, we have ばかりに. So this is, because I did, there was a negative outcome. So it's basically like, it was all my fault, or like, all because something happened, something bad happened. So here we have 私が傷んだ肉で調理したばかりに食べたみんながお腹を下した. I cooked with spoiled meat and everyone who ate it got a stomachache. Next we have ただ変えて. So this is doing an action leads to an unexpected result. So we have 部屋の片付けをしたら帰って散らかってしまった. So after I cleaned the room, it got even messier, right? So it's like, once I did this thing, actually, like, I got the opposite outcome of what I actually wanted. Next, we have あんまり. Now, this is how we express that something is to an extreme degree. Like, I love someone so much that something happens. So here we have 恋人が大好きなあんまり友達との連絡を一切取れなくなった. Because I loved my partner so much, I stopped keeping in touch with my friends. Next, we have のなんのって. So this is when you want to say that something is very or really or so something. So here we have 最近北海道で冬になって寒いのなんのって. So this is it recently became winter in Hokkaido and now it's really cold. Next we have てならない. So this is I can't help but, feel a certain way or think a certain thing. So here we have 一人暮らしが寂しくて家族が恋しくてならない. Living alone is so lonely, I can't help but miss my family. Next, we have てたまらない. This means something is unbearably something, or, it's so something I can't even handle it. So here we have 弟が可愛くてたまらない. My little brother is so cute, I can't even handle it. Next, we have に他ならない. So this means it has to be that, or, it can't be anything else but, right? We have this hoka, which is the same as like hoka no, which means like other. And since it's hoka naranai, it means it can't be any other. It won't be anything else, which means it has to be that. So we get 口元についたチョコレートから彼が私のアイスを食べた人に他ならない. From the chocolate on his face, I knew it had to be him that ate my ice cream. Next, we have こそ. So this is like something for sure. So like, it's sort of like, it's like the same, it's like a really strong wa. Like, 今日は今日こそ. Like, for sure, today is gonna be the day. So here we have 今回こそぬいぐるみを UFO キャッチャーで取れると思ったらまた失敗した. I thought I could win the plushie from the crane game for sure this time, but I failed again. Next, we have mine. So here we're expressing a strong intention to not do something. It's sort of like, never again. From now on, no more. So here we have いつも彼と喧嘩をしてしまう. 彼とは一生関わるまい. He and I always fight, so I'm not going to have anything to do with him anymore. Next, we have てでも. This is when you're expressing a strong desire to achieve a goal by any means. So here we have 睡眠時間を削ってでもこのゲームをクリアしたい. So I want to finish this game even if it means cutting into my sleep time. Next up, we have というより. So this is when we're saying it's not just this thing. It's something even more. It's something even stronger than that. Like we're not just friends. We're sisters. It's that sort of like escalation. So here we have 日本の冬の寒さは単に寒いというより痛いような感じがする. Winter in Japan isn't just cold, it's painful. Next, we have に決まっている. This is it must be or it will surely be. So basically, the result of something is surely going to turn out this way. So, そんな何でも買っていたらお金がなくなるに決まっている. If you keep buying everything, you're sure to run out of money. Next, we have 最中, which is in the middle of. So here we have ミーティングの最中に誰かがドアのチャイムを鳴らした. In the middle of the meeting, someone rang the doorbell. Next, we have かというと, かと思うと. Just as, or just when I thought. So we have 彼女が駅に着いたかと思うと すぐに電車が出発した。Just as she arrived at the station, the train left. Right? So, just when she thinks she's going to be able to get on that train, the train leaves the station without her. Next we have かないかのうちに. So this is as soon as, or so basically here is a verb plain and here is a verb negative. And so what's happening is it's like as soon as it seems like this is about to happen, another thing happens. So here we have スピーチが終わるか終わらないかのうちに拍手が鳴り響いた。Applause broke out as soon as the speech ended. Next we have た途端 immediately after. 外に出た途端、雨が降り出した。As soon as we left home, it started raining. Next we have した上で. So this is after doing. So here we get チームで話し合った上で最終決定をする. So we will make the final decision after discussing with the team. Next we have したついでに. This is while doing. So キッチンを掃除したついでに冷蔵庫を拭いた. So while cleaning the kitchen, right, here's the thing that we're doing. I also wiped down the refrigerator. There's the second thing we're doing. Next we have を兼ねて. So this is for the purpose of. So here is the purpose, を兼ねて, and then the rest of the sentence. So 情報収集を兼ねて SNS を使う. So we use social media for the purpose of gathering information.
I have to study more kanji. Oh, but my grammar needs work too. And reading, and listening, and...
You only need one.
Huh? Pass the JLPT with just this book? There's vocab, grammar, reading. Wow. There's even listening in here. Wait, I spent like 10,000 yen on those. Maika?
Next we have 見るにつけ. Whenever I do something. So we have 写真を見るにつけ、北海道に旅行に行ったことを思い出す. Whenever I look at the photos, I remember my trip to Hokkaido. Next we have ぶりに. So this marks a passage of time since the last occurrence of an action or event. It's similar to how we'll say 久しぶり, right? So when we say 何々ぶりに, it means it's been this length of time since we did this thing. So here we get 2ヶ月ぶりに実家に帰った. I went back to my parents' house for the first time in 2 months. Next we have に反して, contrary to, right? So contrary to this thing happened. 予想に反して試合に勝った. So contrary to expectations, we won the game. Next we have に応じて. This is according to or depending on. So according to or depending on this thing, something else happens. So we get 天気に応じて運動会の開催場所を変更する. The location of the sports festival will be changed depending on the weather. Next we have に加えて, which is in addition to. So in addition to this thing, I also do another thing. So here we have 勉強に加えてアルバイトもしている. In addition to studying, I also have a part-time job. Next we have に沿って, which is along, according to, based on. So as based on this thing, as described in this thing, do that thing. Or, according to this thing, this thing. 契約書に沿って料金を支払う. Pay the fee as according to the contract. Next we have に伴って. As with. It basically means that as this thing changes, this other thing will also change. So here we have 交通量が増えるに伴って渋滞がひどくなる. So as traffic increases, the road gets more congested, right? So one thing changes, another thing also changes. Next we have において. So at or in. And what comes before is a place or a specific situation or context. So in this place, for example, something happens, right? So 会議において大事なことが決まりました。At the meeting, an important decision was made. Next, we have にかけては, which is when it comes to, and then a positive statement. So when it comes to this thing, something is good, or somebody is doing well. So we have 彼は日本のアニメにかけては誰よりも詳しい. When it comes to Japanese anime, he knows more than anyone. Next, we have をめぐって, regarding or relating to. So regarding this thing, people feel this way, or something is this way. So we get 会議での発言をめぐって様々な意見が上がった. There were various reactions regarding the statements made in the meeting. Next, we have というと. So this is, when it comes to, or when one thinks of, or when one hears, so it's like when one thinks of spring, one thinks of flowers, for example. So here we have 日本の春というと桜がすぐに思い浮かぶ. When one thinks of spring in Japan, the first thing that comes to mind is cherry blossoms. Next, we have とは. So when we say something, something とは, it means something is, right? So this thing is, right? And then you go on to explain it or talk about it, describe what it means to you, maybe. So, 遺産とは世代を超えて受け継がれてきた伝統や文化、価値観のことを言います. Heritage means the traditions, culture, and values passed down through generations. Next, we have にしても. So this is even if. 準備ができていないにしても予定通り試験は行われる. Even if you're unprepared, the exam will still happen as planned. Next, we have としても. So this is even if something were to happen, something else. So even if this happens, something else. Okay. 今回の試験で不合格になったとしても諦めずに次回も受験する. Even if I fail the JLPT, I plan to take it again. Next, we have とも. So even if something happens, something else. Something happens, but something stays the same. So no matter what this thing is, this thing isn't going to be affected. So we have 彼女が何をしようとも私の決心は変わらないと思う. No matter what she tries to do, I don't think my decision will change. Next, we have すればよかった、するべきだった. So I should have done something, and now I regret it. So 日本に来る前にもっと日本語を勉強すればよかった. So I should have studied Japanese before I came to Japan. Next, we have さえすればしなければ. So if only you do something, then something else. So 努力さえすれば夢は叶う. If only you worked hard, you could achieve your dreams. Next, we have を抜きにして. So that's without, right? So 抜き is without. So if we take this thing and pretend it wasn't there, then this thing, wouldn't have worked out or couldn't have happened. This thing is basically necessary for whatever the next thing is to happen. So we have 彼の協力を抜きにしてこの計画は成功しなかっただろう. Without his cooperation, the plan wouldn't have succeeded. Next, we have を除いて. So except for. 除く is basically like to leave out. It's like you're just caring about the one, certain thing. So it's like, if we just don't look at Friday, we don't have to worry about it. So, 金曜日を除いて予定が空いています. Except for Friday, my schedule is free. Next, we have 次第で. So, it depends on. So, This depends on this. JLPT に合格するかどうかは努力次第だ。Whether you pass the JLPT or not depends on the effort you put in. Next we have でなければ. So if you're not, then. So if you're not this thing, then some other thing. 元気でなければ旅行は楽しめないでしょう。So if you're not feeling well, then you probably won't enjoy the trip. Next we have かのように, as if. So basically the meaning is, somebody is pretending as if something is a certain way, even if it isn't actually that way. So here we have 彼はすべてを知っているかのように話した. He spoke as if he knew everything. Next we have つもり. So this means I thought that something was this way, but it was actually another way. So 自分ではうまくできたつもりだったが、先生には改善が必要だと言われた. I thought I did a good job, but my teacher said I need improvement. Next we have 手ばかりいる. So this is doing the same thing the whole time. So 彼は最近ゲームしてばかりいる. He has been playing games all the time. That's all he's doing. Next we have どころではない. Not the time to do something. So 忙しくて旅行に行くどころではない. So I'm so busy, now is not the time to go on a trip, right? So this is the thing that you're not doing, right? So it's like, this thing, why would I do that? I don't have time for that. Next we have せずに済んだ. This is to get by without doing something, without doing this thing. 遅刻したが予定を変更せずに済んだ. So even though I was late, I managed to get by without changing my plans, right? So without changing, 変更せずに済んだ is like I got through. I managed to get through it without doing this. Next, we have 恐れがある. So this is, there's a risk of, right? 恐れ comes from like 恐れる, which is like a fear, a worry of something bad happening. So because there is a fear of, basically there's a risk that some bad thing will happen. 道に迷う恐れがあるので、地図を見ながら歩く. There's a risk of getting lost, so I walk while looking at a map. Next we have のももっともだ. It's natural, or it's understandable that something is a certain way. So, 昨日は寝ていないので、疲れるのももっともだ. You didn't sleep last night, so it's natural to feel tired, right? So here is the thing that it's natural. And this here before, we're just giving a reason why it's natural. Next we have のもとで. So this is under the guidance of, right? Moto is like the base, right? And so it's like, if this is like, we're under, right? So like, we're in the arms, we're in the grasp of this person who's showing us how to do something. 先生のもとで日本語と日本のマナーを勉強する. I study Japanese language and manners under my teacher's guidance. Next we have を込めて. So this is filled with. So something, you fill it with, right? So 込める is like to fill something in, right? And so here we're saying we fill something with something. So 先生は生徒たちに励ましの言葉を込めて話した. The teacher's words to the students were filled with encouragement. Next we have をとする, として. So we're saying as a certain thing, as a certain role, we do something. So 日本語教師としてタイの学校で働く. I work as a Japanese teacher at school in Thailand. Next we have とか. So this is what we're using when we want to add like speculation about something that we saw or heard. It's basically like being like, oh, I heard that he was sick or something. I heard that his mom moved or something, right? You're adding in a little bit of doubt because you're like, I think it's something like this. So here we have, 彼は新しい仕事を見つけたとか. I heard that he found a new job or something. Next, we have につれて. So as. Basically, it means as I'm doing something, something else happens. So, 日本語を勉強するにつれて、だんだん自信がついてきた. As I studied Japanese, I gradually gained confidence. Next, we have する一方だ. So, verb 一方だ. More and more. So basically, something just gets worse and worse. You know, it's this state and it's just continuing. Okay. 父の体調は悪くなる一方だ. My father's health is getting worse and worse. Next, we have お契機として. So something is the trigger for something to happen. So we have 新しいカフェのオープンの契機として友達とよく出かけるようになりました. The opening of a new cafe became the trigger for me to go out with my friends more often. Next, we have を通して. So through or using. So using this thing, we do another thing. 私たちはインターネットを通して新しい情報を得ることができます. We can obtain new information through the internet. Next, we have て始めて. So this is until something happened, or like once something happened, I learned something, or I became aware of something. So here we have 社会人になって初めて教育の重要性を知った. I didn't know the importance of education until I started working. Next, we have 末に. So this is as a result of. So as a result of this thing, something else. 努力した末に成功を手に入れた. So as a result of my efforts, I achieved success. Next, we have 甲斐があって, which means thanks to. It's very similar to おかげで. So, 毎日練習をした甲斐があって、発音が上手になった. Thanks to practicing every day, my pronunciation has improved. Next, we have したところ, which is once I did. So once I did this, something else happened. メールを送ったところ、すぐに返事が来ました. Once I sent the email, I received a response right away. Next, we have わけにはいかない. Something can't be done because it's unacceptable. 明日は試験があるので遅刻するわけにはいかない. I can't be late because I have an exam tomorrow. Next, we have 手はいられない. I can't keep on. So I can't continue this because something else. So, 次の予定があるのでこれ以上待ってはいられない. So, I have another appointment, right? So I can't keep on waiting any longer, right? Can't keep waiting any longer. Next, we have ざるを得ない. No choice but to. Must. 体調が悪いため、今日は休まざるを得ない. Since I'm not feeling well, I have no choice but to take the day off. Next, we have 問わず. Regardless of, right? Regardless of this, something else. 年齢を問わず、誰でも参加できる. Anyone can participate regardless of their age. Next, we have にもかかわらず. In spite of, or regardless of. So in spite of this thing, something else. 高い費用にもかかわらず、多くの人々がそのイベントに参加しました. In spite of the high cost, many people attended the event. Next, we have も構わず. Without worrying about, or without minding. So without worrying about this. 天気も構わず、彼は公園に行った. He went to the park without worrying about the weather. はともかく. Putting aside. So putting aside this thing, something else. そのレストランの価格はともかく、料理は美味しい. So putting aside the price, the food is delicious, right? It's like, forget about this thing. This is what I care about. Next, we have ところを見ると. Judging by. So looking at this, we think this. 行動しているところを見ると、彼はとても自信があるようだ. So judging by his actions, he seems to be very confident. Next, we have から言うと、から見ると、and からすると. So, judging from or looking at it from 結果から見ると、その計画が成功したようです。Judging from the results, it seems like the plan was a success. Next, we have おはじめ. So, starting with this thing, and then we list other things. フランスをはじめ、休憩中にイタリアやスペインなど、いくつかの国を訪れました。Starting with France, we visited several countries during our vacation, including Italy and Spain. Next, we have のみならず. So not only this, but also this. 彼は日本語のみならず、英語も話せます。He can speak not only Japanese, but also English. Next, we have といった. So this means such as. So in front of といった, we give examples of a thing, and then after is the category. So it'll be like といった category. 彼はリンゴやオレンジといった果物を食べるのが好きです。He likes to eat fruits such as apples and oranges. Next, we have 上に. So 上に, as you can tell from that word 上, which means above or on top of, what we're saying is on top of this thing, something else also happened. In addition to that, something else happened. So we get 天気が悪かった上に飛行機が遅れた. On top of the weather being bad, the flight was also delayed. Next, we have やら, やら. So this is when we're expressing difficulties and complaints. You know, this bad thing and this bad thing. Here we have 今日は仕事やら家事やらで何でもできなかった. Between work and chores and so on, I couldn't get anything done today. Next, we have するにしろ, するにしろ. So whether or not something. So it's like if you're doing this thing or doing that thing, or you know, whether it's this or whether it's that. And then the outcome is still the same. So here we have 好きにしろ、嫌いにしろ、あなたは仕事を終わらせなければなりません. Whether you like the work or not, you have to finish it. Next, we have も、ば、も. So both and also 彼は勉強もすれば映画も見る. So he both studies Japanese and also watches movies. Next, we have げ. So this means seems like. So this is what we use when we're trying to talk about other people's feelings and emotions. So based on my perception, it seems like they think this or they want this. 彼は何か言いたげだった. He seemed like he wanted to say something. Next, we have 気味. So this is to feel a little a certain way. So this is the way that we feel. We're feeling a little some type of way. 最近疲れ気味なので少し早く帰る. I'm feeling a little tired, so I'll go home early today. Next, we have ガチ. So this is saying we tend to do something, right? It's like it always just ends up that way. 最近寝坊しがちだ. Recently, I tend to oversleep. Next, we have ぽい. So this is something looks or seems a certain way. 昨日買った新しい服は安っぽく見える. So the shirt I bought yesterday seems cheap. かけ. So this means something that was started but not finished. So here we have その報告書は書きかけです. So the report is unfinished. Next we have 向け. So this means for and then the group of people that it's aimed at. この本は小学生向けだ. This book is for elementary school students. Next, we have 得る. So this is something is possible. 彼は遅刻するというのはあり得ることです. So it's possible that he will be late. Next, we have きり. So after an action has been done, things will remain in a certain state without changing. 彼女は外に出たきり 戻ってこない. So, since going outside, she hasn't come back. So once this action happened, she remained outside for the rest of time. Next, we have おいでになる. So this is the polite form of to come, to go, to be. So here we have 来週社長がおいでになる. The company president is coming next week. Next, we have ご存知ですか? So this is do you know this thing? And it's a polite form of speech. So we have 彼女の連絡先をご存知ですか? Do you know her contact information? Next, we have してもよろしいですか? This is how we ask for permission in a polite way. You know, is it okay if I do this action? ここに座ってもよろしいですか? May I sit here? Next, we have させてもらう, させてくれる. So this is to be allowed to do something, right? To be allowed to do this thing. Here we have 部屋に入らせてくれませんでした. They didn't allow me to enter the room. Next, we have 兼ねる. It means something is not possible. It's something that we can't do. 大変申し訳ございませんが、田中さんの連絡先はわかりかねます. I'm terribly sorry, but I'm afraid I have no way of knowing Mr. Tanaka's contact information. Next, we have もらってくれない? This is asking someone to receive something. Asking somebody, for example, like to take something from you. Like, could you please take this? お菓子をたくさん買ったので、少しもらってくれない? I bought a lot of snacks, so would you mind taking some? Okay, that's all we had for today. Thank you for joining us. I wish you all the best of luck on your tests. Keep studying hard.
Shun です。この漢字はシュッシュッシュッ、素早いという意味です。
帰れ帰れで오늘 공부할 거는 은ですよ。
へい皆さん、仕事中の電話対応の日本語を一緒に完璧にしていきましょう。はい、じゃあ早速ルールですね。
今日は一蘭というラーメン屋さんに来ました。日本にいる人だったらこの看板を見たことがあるかもしれないですね。